I am so excited about this game in the Cotton Bowl. Texas, Oklahoma. Texas is a 2.5-point favorite. That's a trap, right?
We're back into the mode of is what we've seen from Texas who they are, or is this an opportunity for them to show the world what they aren't? I don't know.
Can I rephrase? Let me reframe the question. If John Mateer is starting for Oklahoma, what is the line?
Maybe a pick 'em. Maybe something like Oklahoma -1. Yeah. What do you think it is?
I think if John Mateer was starting, it should be Oklahoma -6.5.
No, my general understanding of individual players, even if it's a quarterback, is that they're never worth more than 4 or 5 points. Now, I don't know.
He's worth a lot more in this game.
I think that in theory they are worth more. I just mean in the math of the spread.
Yeah, I got you.
You know, Oklahoma has looked like a better football team all year. Shit. Come on, drink. God.
I didn't even say it, but grab a Modelo.
No. I feel like I'm getting one of those shot callers, like I'm gonna break the habit, I promise.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was my intention all along. So it's working. It's working.
Came into the season, if you're an Oklahoma fan, looking at that schedule, looking at the second half of the schedule and going, God, if we could just get to 5-0 and then play just above 500 football for the rest of the year, we have a shot at the playoff. If we could play a competitive game against Texas just to show that there isn't the stark gap that there was a year ago, man, that would be great. If we could just avoid catastrophic injuries and, keep our team healthy and playing well, that would be great. Now, they've done most of those three things. Obviously, the John Mateer
injury to John Mateer. Yeah.
The John Mateer injury is a stroke of bad luck that no team in the country deserves less. But I look at this team and I view them as better than Texas at the moment. I rank Oklahoma higher. Texas, by the way, Clemson, and Penn State are all out of the AP top 25, by the way. If you would have told me that in July,
and deservedly so.
But I would have, can you imagine, though? Those are the 3 most trendy national championship picks.
Yeah.
All out of the top 25 on October 4th or 5th.
And might get back in. Texas especially could get back in. But nothing Texas has shown us so far suggests they should. And nothing Texas has shown us so far suggests they're going to beat Oklahoma. Like what we saw from Arch Manning on Saturday is a scary thought when you consider the fact that Oklahoma's pass rush is probably better than Florida's. And Florida was all over him. All over. Their offensive line is not very good. And I am going to have to go back, Ari, and reevaluate because we're testing out a lot of these theories as the game changes and the game evolves. And my theory going into this offseason was if Texas goes goes hard into the portal to get offensive linemen, it means they don't like what they have. And this is a program that just goes and gets what it needs in the portal. And when they didn't go get any offensive linemen in the portal, my thought was, they've evaluated it. They know they have a capable group of people coming up, and that's what they're rolling with. So their offensive line is going to be fine because if they didn't think it was going to be fine, they would have gone and gotten somebody. They like Isaiah World wouldn't be starting for Oregon. He'd be starting for Texas. That's not what happened. Clearly, they misevaluated. Clearly, they thought that group was better than it is. So I'm going to have to scrap that theory and work on a new one. But that line's not very good. That's part of the reason Arch is not having a good season. But the rest of it's on Arch. And they are about to play one of the most ferocious pass rushes in the country.
There is going to be a time where we have a conversation, maybe even tomorrow, about the business aspect of Arch.
Yes, we need to have a deep conversation about that. And that is what we're going to have tomorrow.
Because if you're looking at it from a 1,000-foot view right now, Andy, Texas might have been better off with Quinn Ewers coming back. And that's
I don't think might have even enters the equation.
And my question, and maybe we can put a pin in this until tomorrow, is whether or not Texas would have even had a choice given how pot committed they were to Arch at that point to bring him back.
It's the same, and it's the same question now. Like, can you even bench him for performance? Like, if he gets hurt, that's one thing. But could you even bench him for performance?
So we were watching the Texas game together.
Yes.
Obviously, you had eagle eyes on that game because you don't want to be up till, all night wondering if Billy Napier was going to get fired. So you got a week reprieve from that, but you were watching it closely. I know Texas, got some scores in the second half, but for the most part in that game, it didn't look like Texas could get anything offensively. Certainly everything it got was hard.
Yes.
And that is the thing that I can't get out of my head. It's not like this is an Arch Manning discussion because Arch Manning is a headline name. But in the column I wrote after the game, Arch Manning, if that was the only problem, Texas would be much better off. Like Arch Manning is the most visible problem.
Yeah.
He is not the only one, and maybe not the most dire. The most dire thing to me is that they can't block anybody and their defensive line keeps getting blown off the ball. And when you think about them having Ant Hill and Colin Simmons and some of these dudes on the defensive side of the ball, their defense has been so much worse than.
Now, I did say I worried about their D tackles because that is where they went into the portal.
Yeah,
because they'd had such a nice run of D tackles like Devondre Sweat and Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton and all those guys. Like they did have to go in the portal to replace them. So I was worried about their interior defensive lines, not worried about their edges at all. And they just. Yeah, I was surprised at how easily Florida moved the ball on the ground against them. Now, Oklahoma hasn't really been able to create a non-John Mateer run game against their better opponents. So I don't know how much that helps. Michael Hawkins Jr. is a really important person in this whole thing. He started the Texas game last year for Oklahoma. And the difference is the line in front of him is way better. The receivers he's throwing to are much better because everybody was hurt last year. So how much does that change the math in this game? Because right now, I've still got the image in my head of him running for his life last game. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is going to be like the 3-2 Mississippi State Auburn game at this point. But the more I think about it, that's probably not what's going to happen because I think Oklahoma is going to have some moments of success. But also, if you go back to that Florida game, Texas wasn't completely incompetent on offense. There were times they hit explosive plays. So I don't know that they are just going to get dominated by Oklahoma's defense. So I really don't know where to go with this one.
Yeah, I know where I'm going. I'm picking Oklahoma to win the game straight up. And
Oklahoma money line.
And I get nervous because I fall into traps of recency bias, and I know that things change. But Texas looks like it has, this isn't one bad game. They didn't just lose to Florida after they came in undefeated. Like this is a pattern of some offensive issues that, we've seen. And I feel like you should take some advice from whoever said, but if somebody's trying to tell you who they are, like listen to them. Like I think Texas has been trying to tell us who they are. And that stuff is not going to play. And I know there was some debate about whether Oklahoma's defense is better than Florida's. I personally think that it is, but it is certainly as good. They get after the passer. Arch Manning was sacked 7 times. This is a rivalry game. You don't want to come in.
And they're much better up the middle than Florida's defense is right now. Like Florida played Texas with no Caleb Banks. He's out for the year.
Yeah.
Like Oklahoma's D tackles, maybe the best group of D tackles in the country.
Yeah. And one of Texas's touchdowns in the Florida game came off of a turnover, and they started very deep in Florida territory. This isn't a team that's getting much offensively, and I think that we are in the era right now where Michael Hawkins is a question mark for sure. We don't know how good Oklahoma's offense is going to be. I think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a fun game. I know some of those, rivalries in the Cotton Bowl have gone up to like 44-40 type, shootouts. Yeah. We've seen some crazy stuff.
And we've seen some weird stuff with turnovers where turnovers create points. And maybe that's how Texas creates points. But we're going to find out. This is going to be a lot of fun. So you are taking the Oklahoma money line. I will take Oklahoma to cover. I'm going to be the pansy about this. Give me the points. I'll take my 2.5 if you're just going to give them to me. Because I would have picked Oklahoma minus 2.5. But if I can take them plus 2.5, I'm happy to do it. And Ari, I bet this line flips during the week.
Yeah, it might. It might. People love betting on Texas, just so you know.
That's true. That's true. The public does love betting on Texas, but the public is probably souring on Texas, just like Texas fans are souring on. I mean, it was crazy watching Texas fans criticize Steve Sarkisian. Basically, he became Billy Napier and James Franklin rolled into one overnight, because it's now a can't win the big one and also needs to hire an offensive coordinator. So like he is all the criticism lobbed at Billy Napier, all the criticism lobbed at James Franklin, all getting it now.
Steve Sarkisian is 2-8 versus top 10 teams at Texas, and he's 5-18 versus top 10 teams all time. Last season, he played one SEC team who finished in the season ranked and lost both of them. Now has lost to Florida. Is Steve Sarkisian worthy of being in the James Franklin conversation? I don't think he is, but these are the types of tweets that I'm seeing from Texas people.
Yeah,
Tip River for sending that to us, but I've been seeing them all week. So they're all weekend. I think we should talk about that later in the week too. Whether or not
we have a lot to talk about with Texas. We definitely do.
Is Steve Sarkisian above criticism this year?
Nobody who makes that much money is above criticism.
I mean, like, I'm talking like criticism that leads to I'm out on that guy. Like, if you're a Texas fan and you're out on Steve Sarkisian,
I don't think you should be out on anybody, especially at this point in his Texas career, when he has brought Texas back to a point that they had not been in a while. But yes, the criticism right now is valid. And like I said, anybody making that amount of money, you can criticize him anytime you want. That's just
because Penn State fans are out on James Franklin, and I'm not going to defend Franklin. I tried last week.
He's been the coach there for 11 years. It's just a little bit different situation.
And the whole build-up factor of it, too. We'll get to that this week. I think we should talk about it.
We should. We will. Stay tuned later in the week. We are going to talk more about Arch Manning and more about Steve Sarkisian.